Hello, Ann Arbor. Okay. So when I was in college, I had a lot of friends that liked to smoke pot, and so I had a lot of opportunities, but I always had like really bad experiences. Like I would get really paranoid, and I didn't see the whole point of it really. So I kind of like avoided it after college, and I didn't smoke for several years. So one time I went to a party with at the house of my high school friend, and on the way out of the party, just as I was going out the door, there was a bowl of cookies, and I just kind of like thoughtlessly just grabbed one, you know. I mean, I should have known, but and I took it home, and I didn't eat it right away. And then the next day, as I was going to work, I was like, I just had lunch, and I was like, oh, a little dessert. So I ate the cookie, and I was carpooling with my coworker, and she didn't look very good that day, and I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm really not feeling well. I kind of don't want to go to work, but so we went to work, and she sits in the cubicle across from me, and she was at, so I could see her, and she was at her computer typing and so forth, and she really didn't look good. And then at one point, she just like suddenly like breaks down and starts crying, and I was like, so I went over. I was like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And she's like, I can't do it. I gotta go home. And she calls her husband, and he comes and picks her up and goes home. And then I was like, whoa. So I was a little bit jolted, and I sit down at my computer, and I keep doing my thing. And then I start feeling really weird, right? Like that my body was like split into several parts, and that my head was like floating kind of like a balloon, and watching my fingers type. And then I couldn't figure out the relationship between what my fingers were doing and what was appearing on the screen. And I just kind of like, I started kind of like panicking a little bit, right? Because I didn't know what was going on. And then so my brain came up with all these theories. I was like, so I thought of these crazy things like, oh, my coworker was possessed by an evil spirit. And the spirit, jumped across from her to me. And now so I don't know, and I was like, okay, I gotta get out of the building and get some fresh air. And I went out, and I really wasn't feeling good by then, and like my eyes were like burning, and I was just like, and I lay down on the bench, and like everything was like swirling, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on, and then I decided to get up and go for a walk, and I was walking, and it felt like I wasn't walking, but that the world was moving past me, and then it clicked, because I remember I had that sensation back in college when I smoked pot, and I was like, it's the cookie. So I called my friend, and then and I called my friend, and I got the answering machine, and I yelled. I was like, "You poisoned me, blah." and then I was kind of like, so I was like, how can I go back to work? So I called my other friend, who's happens to be a therapist, and I thought he might know something about it. And so so I said, hey, I ate this like pot cookie. Like, do you know anything about that? Like, how long did? Because I never had one before, right? And I was like, how long does it last? He's like, oh my God, I ate one once, and I was high for 2 days. And I was like, oh no. But I think he actually didn't know, because he didn't smoke pot that much either, right? So I was like, shit, what do I do? And then he's like, hey, try to eat some food. I think it helps. So I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So I went to like the closest restaurant, and I ordered like a huge portion, and kind of stuffed myself. And that did make me feel much more kind of grounded. So I went back to work, and I actually finished my work, and nobody noticed that I was high. And recently, like this is like 12 years ago, and recently I got back in touch with that friend from high school, and well, her boyfriend at the time who was at the party, now they're married, and then I was talking to him, and then he was like, hey, you know, I really want to apologize for what happened that one time. And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? He said, you know, when at the party when you ate that cookie, I'm really sorry that happened to you. And I was like, oh, I mean, that was just like a kind of a joke, you know, like when I think back on it, it's like, it's no big deal. He's like, no, man, I've been thinking about it constantly for the last 12 years. And I just, it's really haunted me and I can't get over it. And I couldn't figure out why it was so important to him. I don't know. I kind of got the feeling that they weren't very happy, you know. And I feel like it was kind of a veiled way of just like expressing nostalgia for maybe like the time when we were in high school or something. But I don't know. It just the whole thing made me think it's very hard to know what's happening with people, you know. So.